Not one city, not one country, not one continent. All of humanity. Deleted, erased like a corrupted save file that wasn't worth keeping. Every nation, every person, every dream, every memory gone, except one man, one single human being, out of 8 billion, whose power was so extraordinary, so fundamentally different that even the cosmic deletion system couldn't wipe him out. And when the system saw this, it didn't panic, it got curious. What is oop, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Hamad. And today we are doing a complete scene-by-scene, 1-hour deep dive into the first 5 chapters of Martial God Regressed to Level 2, The End of the World. One man's impossible survival, a regression back to the very beginning, and a cold, calculated promise. This time, everything will be different. Buckle up. This is going to be a long one, and every single minute is worth it. Let's go. Chapter 1 opens with a single devastating image. Imagine a monster the size of a mountain, not exaggerating, an actual mountain and with limbs. A creature so massive that when it breathes, the air around it trembles, so large that its single footstep cracks the earth beneath it. This is the behemoth of the apocalypse, BattleNet's most catastrophic world-ending monster. A creature summoned specifically to test whether humanity was worth keeping alive, and it just fell. Boom, the ground shakes, dust clouds everything, and as the panels clear, we see a blonde-haired man smiling. His name is Baron, the Guild Master of America First, the largest and most powerful guild on the planet, ranked number 1 in the entire world. He's smiling because the behemoth is dead. Mission accomplished. But notice, Baron is standing at a safe distance. He's not injured. He's not breathing heavy. He's not even dirty, because Baron didn't kill the behemoth. The camera shifts. Right next to the monster's enormous corpse, lying on the ground, is a man. Black hair. Body covered in severe burns. Left arm cut open. Barely breathing. This is Seong Ji-han, ranked 7th in the entire world. Known as the Martial Saint. He took down a mountain-sized apocalypse monster, almost entirely by himself, and he's lying in the dirt next to its corpse. And Baron's first thought when he sees Ji-han like this? The Korean hunting dog did his job well again. Hunting dog, the 7th-ranked player in the world. The man who just saved one of Earth's last 10 countries. A warrior who sacrificed his body to bring down a creature that no one else could touch. And to Baron, his guild master, his supposed ally, he is a dog, a useful tool. A refugee from a fallen country, a weapon to be deployed and then forgotten. Ji-han heard this. He understood it, and he said nothing because he had nowhere else to go. The Saintess, ranked 3rd in the world, runs to Ji-han. She's America First's healer. One of the most powerful support players alive. Regeneration. She casts her strongest healing spell, and her expression darkens. She can heal normal burns. She can handle most injuries, but the burns left by the behemoth of the apocalypse? These are not normal burns. The healing is working, but barely, slowly. Ji-han's injuries are more severe than anything she's dealt with before. While she works, Baron approaches the behemoth's corpse. The monster has dropped legendary loot. Rare, powerful items. The kind of rewards that don't come around often. Items that could define a player's entire power trajectory. Baron surveys his guild members. The Saintess, rank 3. She gets a reward. 4th rank guild member, reward. 5th rank guild member, reward. And Ji-han, the man who contributed the most to bringing the behemoth down, Baron doesn't even look his way. Not a glance. Not an acknowledgement. Ji-han's name isn't even brought up in the conversation. He is excluded as naturally, as automatically, as if he were a piece of furniture. Baron and his 4 chosen members fly up toward the loot on Behemoth's body, using Baron's magic like they're taking an elevator, and Ji-han watches them go. Through blurry, injured vision. He looks at the monster he brought down with his own 2 hands, and after a long pause, he speaks, "Go, I'm okay now, that's it. No protest, no anger. No demand for fair treatment. Just 3 words of quiet dismissal. And as he watched Baron's team claim the rewards, Jihan thought to himself, I never expected Baron to share anything with me in the first place. My country is gone. I'm in exile here. That's the gap between us, no matter what I do. That is the weight Song Jihan carries, not just physical injuries, but the bone-deep exhaustion of being treated as less than human by the very people he fights alongside. And yet, he endures it. Because what other choice does he have? Before the loot is fully claimed, the ground shakes again. System-wide notification appears in front. Of every player on Earth, the demotion match is about to begin. Let me take a moment here to explain what a demotion match is, because this concept is the engine of the entire story. BattleNet is not a game. It is Earth's participation slot in the Space League, AAI, galaxy-wide cosmic competition where every inhabited planet sends its strongest fighters to compete. The universe has been running this competition for eons, thousands of planets, hundreds of civilizations, all competing in a cosmic ranking system. The concept is brutal and simple. Perform well, you keep your planet. Perform poorly, you get demoted. Get demoted enough times, your planet gets deleted. Humanity has been performing poorly for a long time. Country after country has already been wiped from BattleNet rankings. What started as hundreds of participating nations has been reduced to just 10 countries still standing. And now, this demotion match is the final one. Lose this, and humanity doesn't just lose a ranking, humanity ceases to exist. Baron makes the call. His top 5 American players will participate. The Saintess ranks 4 and 5, and Baron himself, Jihan, injured, barely healed, barely standing, is not included. Baron doesn't ask, doesn't consult, doesn't consider Jihan, just watches from the sidelines. The match begins, and here's the thing. Even with America's top players, even with the world's #1 guild, Earth loses. America and China barely survive. Russia fails. Every other remaining country, when fails, the math doesn't add up. Humanity doesn't have enough, and then the messages appear. The deletion begins, and it is unlike anything you'd expect. There's no dramatic explosion. No fire. No screaming. Just darkness, a creeping, absolute darkness that swallows people whole. America First Guild members, gone. One by one. Baron, deleted in seconds. The Saintess, gone. Rank 4. Rank 5. Gone. In exactly 5 minutes, every single member of the world's most powerful guild has been erased from existence. The darkness spreads outward, and then it reaches Jihan. He stood there, watching it come, cold expression, no panic. No running. He'd watched everyone else disappear. He knew there was nowhere to run. The darkness swallowed his legs, then his arms. Then his torso began to blur at the edges, and then it stopped. Jihan blinked. His arms and legs were consumed, eaten into nothingness, but his core, his chest, his head, his mind would not disappear. The darkness pushed harder. The deletion force increased, and still, Jihan remained. He thought, in those moments, just one thing: nameless divine arts, his martial technique, his life's work. The SSS rank skill he had mastered over years of grueling training, a technique so deeply embedded in the fundamental nature of his existence that the deletion system's code couldn't process it, couldn't categorize it, couldn't erase it. It was like trying to delete a concept that the system had no language to describe, and the cosmic system, the cold, ancient machine that had deleted thousands of planets without hesitation. To think someone would be able to resist being erased, this is unprecedented. Let's give him an opportunity to re-challenge. Sure. Seong Jihan is returning to the time of initial entry in the league. Jihan felt reality fold around him, and everything went white. Before we follow Jihan into his regression, We need to pause here, because we need to understand exactly what he lost in the original timeline. Because this isn't just a revenge story. This is a grief story, wrapped inside a power fantasy. Yoon Jia, Jahan's sister, the world's greatest support player, known globally as the Saintess, Korea's Saintess. Not the one in America first. Korea had its own, beloved, iconic, the pride of an entire nation. Yoon Sia, Jia's daughter. Jihan's niece, a young girl who Jihan loved more than anything in this world. Bright, energetic, pure. The one person who could make Jihan's cold exterior crack, even slightly. Yoon Se-jin, Jihan's brother-in-law. Known as the Sword King, one of Korea's most powerful players, a man the entire nation looked up to. And then, one day, Se-jin changed his name, became Ito Ryuhei, joined the Japanese Self-Defense Force, took Japanese citizenship, left his daughter Seiya behind, left his wife Jia behind, left Korea, the country that called him its sword, behind. Whether it was brainwashing or choice, the result was the same. Korea lost its most powerful sword fighter, and Korea fell. Jia survived for a time, but grief destroyed her. Seiya, little Yoon Seiya, didn't survive the chaos that followed Korea's collapse. Jihan couldn't save her. He was there. He tried. But he was too late. After Seiya died, something in Jihan permanently shut down. He drank. He gambled on battle.net matches. He floated through existence like a ghost. Eventually, he fled to America. Joined Baron's Guild, climbed to rank 7 through sheer martial mastery, but he never belonged. He was always the Korean refugee, the hunting dog. Number 7 in the world, and still nobody's equal. That is the man who just got sent back 3 years into the past. Cold, calculated, carrying grief he will never fully speak out loud, and burning with a purpose that has replaced every other feeling. This time, everything will be different. Jihan's eyes opened, and the first thing he noticed, he wasn't falling. No crater. No battlefield. No burning sky. He was in his Korean apartment, 3 years in the past. He sat up slowly. Looked at his hands, both of them, intact, unburned. Checked his body, no injuries. No scars from the behemoth. He stood up, walked to the window. Outside, soul alive, breathing. People walking in the streets. Korea hadn't fallen yet. He stood at that window for several seconds, and then, very quietly, the corner of his mouth moved. Not a warm smile. Not relief, a cold, calculating half smile. The smile of a man who just got given the one thing he never expected to receive, a second chance. He thought through what he knew. Battle.net had just been released to the public. Right now, in this timeline, players think it's a game. Fun. Exciting. A new way to earn money and build a career. Nobody knows yet that losing means your country disappears. Nobody knows the demotion matches are coming. Nobody knows how much blood will be spilled over the next 3 years. But Jihan knows every single thing that's coming. Every major match. Every betrayal. Every catastrophic failure. Every player who will rise, who will fall, who will abandon humanity when the pressure gets unbearable. He has 3 years of future knowledge against a world that has 0. Let's get started, he thought. Jihan sat down at his battle.net connector. For everyone else in Korea at this moment, this was exciting. Brand new technology, a virtual world, a chance to play and earn. For Jihan, this was the starting line of the most important race of his life. He logged in. Welcome to battle.net, Space League official. Platform, first time registration detected. Please wait while your gift is being assessed. The gift system. Every player who enters battle.net for the first time receives a gift, a unique, special ability assigned based on the player's innate potential. Some gifts are combat-focused, raw attack power, speed enhancement. Some are strategic, enhanced perception, resource management. Some are rare, legendary abilities that only 1 in 1 million players receive. In his first life, Jihan received Traveler's Eye, the ability to see other players' stats and details at a glance. He used it mostly for gambling on BattleNet matches. Useful, but limited. Now, in the new timeline, gift assessment complete. Assigned gift, classless, rank none, pause, classless, no class. No assigned combat role. No starting skills. In BattleNet's framework, class defines everything. Warriors get strength and sword skills. Mages get intelligence multipliers and spell abilities. Archers get precision and range bonuses. Supports get team enhancement abilities. Every class has a clear growth path. Every class has built-in advantages. Being classless meant nothing, a blank. A zero, no starting point. Any other player seeing this gift would feel their stomach drop. Other players in Jihan's early days would mock him for it. Classless? That's basically a broken account. You got the worst possible gift, man. That's rough. And Jihan stared at the screen and thought, perfect. Here's why. The nameless divine arts is not a BattleNet skill. It exists outside the system's classification framework. It came from a source, the martial god, that predates BattleNet's structure. When you have a class, that class comes with restrictions. A warrior can't use magic above a certain level. A mage has physical stat caps. Every class has a built-in ceiling. Classless had no ceiling. Classless had no restrictions. Classless meant that Jihan's nameless divine arts, which the system couldn't properly categorize anyway, would face zero interference from class limitations. In a world where every other player was running on a defined track, Jihan had no track. He would build his own road, and his road had no speed limit. But Jihan immediately noticed something important. His original gift, Traveler's Eye, wasn't here this time. Different timeline, different gift assignment. Now, in the original timeline, Jihan had spent years using Traveler's Eye for gambling. He'd watch BattleNet broadcast matches, use his ability to read player stats, and bet on outcomes. It kept him financially alive during his worst years. But it was also a crutch, a distraction, a way to survive without truly fighting. This timeline, no Traveler's Eye. That meant the gambling path was closed. This time, there was no shortcut. No clever financial trick. This time, it was pure martial power. Pure preparation. Pure execution. Jihan actually preferred it. He also noticed something else. Subtle differences in how the BattleNet system responded to him. In his first life, he had been a fresh, malleable player. The system, and the constellation called the martial god, had shaped him, guided him, fed him power in specific ways. Now, the system felt different, watchful, like it was trying to figure out what he was. A level 1 player with the movement instincts of a level 999 master. A fresh account with the tactical mind of someone who'd played through humanity's extinction. The system's algorithms couldn't quite process the contradiction. Jihan noted this and filed it away. The system has noticed I'm not normal. I need to be careful about how I display my abilities in the early stages. Too much too fast, and the wrong entities will take notice. He closed the interface. One more thing to check, and it was the most important one. Jihan's very first decision in the new timeline was not about ranking, was not about guilds, was not about defeating Baron or dismantling the martial god. It was simpler. It was a name, Yoon Sia, his niece, alive right now. In this timeline, in this city, he had 3 years of future knowledge. He had unprecedented martial power. He had the perfect gift for unlimited growth, and none of it had mattered to him as much as the fact that Yoon Sia was alive right now, and he had a chance to make sure she stayed that way. He picked up his phone. In his previous life, after Sia died, and he replayed that moment over and over. What he could have done differently. Where he could have been. Why he wasn't there. Grief doesn't give you answers, but a second chance does. He was going to find Sia. He was going to train her. He was going to make sure that when the world started falling apart, she would be strong enough to survive it. Everything else, every plan, every revenge, every strategy came second to this. That one decision tells you everything you need to know about who Seong Ji-han really is underneath all the cold calculation. Let's talk about Yoon Sea's life right now. In this timeline, at the start of Chapter 3, things at home are tense. Her father, Yoon Sejin, the Sword King, was still here, still in Korea, still in the household. But things between Sejin and Jia aren't good. Sejin is increasingly obsessed with BattleNet, his ranking, his reputation, his standing in the world. He's pulling away from the family, not through cruelty, but through neglect. The slow kind of abandonment that doesn't announce itself. Sia feels it. Kids always feel it before adults admit it. She's a bright, energetic girl. But there's a weight on her that shouldn't be there for someone her age. A hyper-awareness of the tension around her. A habit of being careful about what she says and to whom, and then there's BattleNet. Everyone around her is excited about it. It's new. It's cool. Sia decides to try it. She logs in, the gift assessment completes. Gift, late bloomer, rank F, the lowest rank. The most underwhelming descriptor. The system's explanation is clinical. Grants the ability to play BattleNet twice per day. Initial stat growth will be below average. Long-term potential, inconclusive. Twice per day. That's the only concrete benefit. And it comes with a warning that she'll grow slower than others. Players around her who see the result. Pity. Oh, late bloomer? That's rough. You might want to focus on something else, honestly. And to be fair, in the original timeline, Sia never got the chance to develop this gift properly. Her father left. Her country fell. Her life was cut short, but Jihan knew something no one else did. Late bloomer is not a weak gift. It is a gift that rewards commitment. The twice-per-day mechanic meant double the combat experience every single day, compounding over months, compounding over years. Sea's growth trajectory would eventually surpass players who started with flashier gifts. She just needed time, consistency, and the right guide. Jihan was going to be that guide. This scene is why Martial God regressed. To level 2 is more than just a power fantasy. Jihan walks in. C looks up. Just her uncle. Normal visit. She doesn't know he just watched the world end. She doesn't know she died in the future he lived through. She doesn't know what her existence means to him right now. For her, he's just Chachu coming to visit. She probably smiles. Says hi. Acts normal. And Jihan, this cold, calculated, emotionally walled-off man who has pushed every person in his life away, who spent years being nobody's priority. He looks at her, and something, very quietly, breaks. Not dramatically. He doesn't cry. He doesn't embrace her. He's too trained, too controlled, but in the art, in the subtle shift of his expression, you can see it. His niece. Who shouldn't exist anymore, who he watched disappear in the timeline he came from, standing right in front of him, alive. He sat down across from her, and he said simply, Sia, from today, I'm going to teach you BattleNet. Sia probably blinked. A little confused. Really? But Chachu, I just started. I'm not even good yet. You don't need to be good yet. You just need to start. Short, direct, very Jihan. He didn't explain why it was urgent. He didn't tell her what was coming in 3 years. He didn't tell her that he'd crossed time itself to have this conversation. He just made the commitment, and Sia, being Sia, probably nodded and said something cheerful. Jihan turned slightly, away, because he didn't want her to see that. The relief in his eyes was the kind that comes after years of pain, the kind of relief that says, you're here, you're safe, and this time, I won't fail you. With Sia found and committed to training, Jihan's mind shifts into full strategic mode. Let's lay out exactly what his plan looks like. Priority 1, train Yoon Sia. She plays twice a day, every day, using late bloomer's full potential. Jihan provides guidance, strategy, and direct combat coaching. Goal: Make C strong enough to survive anything the future throws at her. Priority. 2. Rebuild personal power. Fast. Jihan needs to redevelop the nameless divine arts in this timeline. The knowledge is in his mind. The technique is in his muscle memory. But he needs to train his physical body back to full capacity. And he needs to do it without triggering too much attention too early. Priority. 3. Prevent Yoon Se-jin's betrayal. The moment Se-jin leaves Korea, Korea begins to crack. Jihan needs to either prevent the defection or prepare Korea to survive without Se-jin's sword. Either solution requires careful early intervention. Priority 4. Reshape Korea's BattleNet positioning. In the original timeline, Korea's players were talented but poorly organized and strategically naive. Jihan needs to guide them, from the inside subtly, toward better decisions in the upcoming demotion matches. Priority. 5. Deal with Baron. Eventually, the account will need to be settled. The man who treated Jihan as a hunting dog, who excluded him from rewards he earned, who watched Korea fall without lifting a finger. That reckoning will come. Just not yet. Priority. 6. The martial god. The most dangerous and unpredictable threat of all. A cosmic entity who is already realizing something is wrong with Jihan and who will not stay passive for long. 6 priorities. 3 years. Jihan has already mapped every single step. Things will be different this time, he thought. They have to be. Here's where the Manhwa reveals a layer that most BattleNet players on Earth have no idea exists. BattleNet isn't just a player versus player game behind the scenes. Behind the rankings and matches and guild systems, there are entities called constellations. These are ancient, immensely powerful cosmic beings who exist outside the physical universe as humanity knows it. They observe. They choose. They sponsor. A constellation selects a human player who shows extraordinary potential and offers them a contract. The deal. The constellation provides the player with a divine skill or ability, something beyond what the BattleNet system itself can offer. In exchange, as the player wins matches, grows famous, and generates powerful energy through their victories, the constellation absorbs a portion of that energy. On the surface, it sounds mutually beneficial. Player gets a legendary power boost. Constellation gains energy from the player's success. Win-win. But not all constellations play fair, and the one who sponsored Jihan in the original timeline was one of the most dangerous entities in existence. The martial god, that's what he calls himself, a self-proclaimed deity of martial arts who presents himself as the ultimate master of combat philosophy, a guide to the highest levels of physical power. In Jihan's first life, the martial god approached him, offered sponsorship, provided the nameless divine arts, positioned himself as a mentor figure. Jihan trusted him. He had no reason not to. But the truth, which Jihan only learned fragments of before the world ended, was far darker. The martial god was a constellation hunter, not a teacher, not a patron. A predator. His method, identify the most powerful humans on each planet. Provide them with divine techniques that make them exceptional. Let them grow. Let them climb. Let them reach their absolute peak, and then absorb them, their power, their potential, their very essence. The martial god had done this across countless cycles, infinite regressions, infinite chosen disciples, all of them fuel for his ever-growing power. And now, in this new timeline, the martial god was watching Jihan's first login, and something was immediately deeply wrong. A level 1 player moving with the efficiency of a grandmaster. Combat decision-making that couldn't come from a first-timer. A psychological composure that veterans spend decades developing. The martial god felt it instantly. This is not the Jihan I know. He's been here before. And the martial god's response was swift and cold. He began withdrawing his sponsorship. A fresh, naive Jihan, who would naturally turn to the martial god for guidance, was the ideal target. Jihan, who had seen behind the curtain, who knew what the martial god who was capable of operating independently, that Jihan was a threat. Better to cut the connection now. Better to deny him the divine power path. Better to deal with this anomaly before it grew into something unmanageable. Jihan felt it, a subtle resistance, like a door slowly closing on a power line. The path through which the nameless divine arts were meant to deepen, beginning to close. He recognized what it was immediately. Jihan's response to the martial god withdrawing sponsorship? He didn't panic. He didn't scramble to reestablish contact. He didn't beg. He simply decided, I don't need you. Here's the key distinction that Jihan understood better than anyone. The martial god could take away the divine sponsorship path. He could close the door to future divine skill grants. He could deny Jihan access to new abilities through that channel. But what was already in Jihan? That couldn't be taken. The nameless divine arts, 3 years of brutal mastery, lived in his body, in his instincts, in the marrow of his bones. The martial god hadn't given him that. Jihan had earned it every training session, every battle, every sacrifice. Those were his, permanently. So when the martial god closed the door, Jihan shrugged. Fine, I'll build my own door. And this moment, this quiet, unspoken declaration of independence, is actually the seed of the entire story's ultimate conflict. Because the martial god has never had a disciple defy him like this. Has never had a human choose to go it, alone against a cosmic entity. Jihan didn't just refuse the sponsorship. He announced, without saying a word, that the rules everyone else follows don't apply to him anymore. And this is the moment that makes Jihan one of the most intelligently written regression protagonists in Manhwa history. Chapter 5. Jihan selects his class, and he picks support. Now let's just pause for a second, because this needs to be fully appreciated. Jihan, former rank 7 in the entire world, a man who fought the behemoth of the apocalypse hand-to-hand, a martial artist whose power resisted cosmic deletion. He picked support, not warrior. Not mage, not archer, support. The class that BattleNet culture looks down on. The class that strong players keep around as tools. The class that gets credit last and blame first. Why? Let me break down the genius of this decision. Reason 1. Access to everyone. In BattleNet, carries and DPS players need supports. The best guilds in Korea, all of them, are hunting for quality support players. As a support, Jihan gets invited into rooms that no one else can enter. He can observe Korea's top players, evaluate them, quietly guide them. You can't reshape a country's BattleNet strategy from the outside. You have to be trusted inside. Reason 2. The underestimation weapon. No one expects the support to be the most dangerous person in the room. Enemies will misjudge him. Rivals will overlook him. Guild leaders will treat him as a tool, just like Baron did. And when Jihan reveals what he actually is, that gap between expectation and reality is devastating. Reason 3. Nameless divine arts. Support synergy. Most people think of the divine arts as purely offensive, but the technique has incredible defensive and enhancement applications. The support class amplifies these aspects, letting Jihan protect allies in ways that look like normal support magic, but are actually operating on a completely different level. Reason 4. Building Korea's future. Jihan's end goal is not personal glory. It's saving Korea, saving humanity. That requires building a team, not just being a one-man army. The support role positions him as the architect of Korea's future lineup. He decides who gets helped, who gets developed, who gets turned into the weapons Korea will need when the real demotion matches begin. Every other player at this stage is thinking, how do I get strong as fast as possible? Jihan is thinking, how do I build a system where Korea wins with or without me? That's the difference between a rank 7 player and a future martial god. Chapter 5 also gives us our first taste of Jihan in actual combat in the new timeline. BattleNet's early matches are low stakes. Tutorial tier enemies. Basic monsters. Players are excited, having fun. treating it like the game they think it is. The atmosphere is light. Casual banter. People showing off new skills. Jihan enters the match. He doesn't say much, doesn't introduce himself dramatically, just appears, scans the environment, and starts moving. Other players in the match, trying out skills, figuring out how abilities work, occasionally dying and respawning. Jihan, a man who played through 3 years of lethal, BattleNet, navigating a tutorial level. The enemy appears. A standard starter tier mob. Other players take several hits, landing the kill. There's a bit of fumbling, some missed swings, some panic. Jihan waits. He watches the enemy's movement pattern for exactly 3 seconds. Then he moves, one motion, clean, no flourish, no dramatic skill activation. Just a single, precisely placed strike, the kind that comes from knowing exactly where to hit for maximum efficiency. The enemy drops. Other players stare. Wait, what was that? You didn't use any skills. What class are you, support? How did you? Jihan is already moving to the next enemy, no explanation. No showing off. Just results. And here's what makes this scene powerful. It's not trying to be epic. It's not a boss fight. The final scene of Chapter 5, and it's the perfect emotional landing point for this arc, is sitting at her BattleNet connector. Jihan is standing beside her, coaching her through her first real match. She's nervous, excited, a little unsure of herself. She remembers what the system said. Late bloomer, rank F. Other kids her age already have flashier gifts, already leveling faster. Chachu, everyone else is already getting stronger. My gift doesn't feel like much. Jihan watches the screen. Doesn't look at her. How many times can you play per day? Twice. Because of late bloomer. And everyone else? Once, a pause. Then by the end of the first month, you'll have twice their experience. By 6 months, the gap will be significant. By a year, you'll have surpassed players who look down on your gift. Sia blinks. Really? Only if you actually show up every day. Late bloomer doesn't work if you skip. I won't skip. The briefest pause. And then, so quietly it almost doesn't count, Jihan says, I know you won't. And Sia smiled. That bright, genuine, full-of-life smile that Jihan hadn't seen in years. He looked at the screen, not at her, because if she saw his face right now, she might wonder why his expression looked like a man who had just been given back something he'd spent years trying to forget he missed. Let's zoom out and talk about why this 5-chapter opening is one of the strongest setups in modern Manhwa. Point 1. It starts at the grave, not the beginning. Most regression stories show us the protagonist getting beaten, then flash forward to the regression, then show them getting stronger. This Manhwa opens on the deletion of humanity. We start at the absolute lowest possible point, and that means every step forward carries maximum emotional weight. We're not just watching Jihan get stronger, we're watching him rebuild from a foundation of absolute loss. Point 2. Jihan's OP-ness makes sense. He's not overpowered because of a random lucky system gift. He's overpowered because he survived the end of the world and came back with complete knowledge of every mistake humanity made. His power is his experience. His power is his grief. That's far more satisfying than he rolled a rare skill at character creation. Point 3. The emotional core is Yoon Sia, and it works. This could have been a pure revenge fantasy. Jihan crushing everyone who wronged him. Baron getting destroyed. Saejin getting punished. That would be satisfying for a chapter or two, but the inclusion of Sia gives the story a heartbeat. Every cold, strategic decision Jihan makes has warmth underneath it. Every power flex serves a purpose beyond personal glory. He is building a future where Sia survives. That makes you emotionally invested in a way pure action never achieves. Point 4. The martial god is a brilliant antagonist. Most regression antagonists are humans. Political rivals, guild enemies. This story makes the very constellation that empowered Jihan the most dangerous long-term threat. The entity that gave him his power is now his enemy. That's a narrative betrayal on a cosmic scale, and it mirrors the personal betrayal of Yoon Saejin on a human scale. The story is asking, who can you actually trust in a world this broken? Point 5. The support class choice is masterful. Choosing support is humble, strategic, counterintuitive. It shows that Jihan isn't just the strongest fighter, he's the most sophisticated thinker. He's not here to be a hero. He's here to win, and winning requires more than personal power. Subscribe right now, because chapters 6 onwards is where Jihan starts going on the offensive, and the gap between what the world thinks he is versus what he actually is becomes absolutely, breathtakingly devastating. Drop a like if this video was worth your hour. Leave a comment. Which scene hit you the hardest? Was it the behemoth reward scene, the deletion moment, or that quiet conversation with Sia at the end? I want to know, and share this video with someone who needs their next manhwa obsession. This has been Your Name. I'll see you in the Chapter 6 recap. Let's go!